Tonight on Fox 9 Now, Boise Mayor Lauren McLean highlighting her successes in this year's State of the City address. And the University of Idaho making a major move to increase online learning. More on their possible acquisition of the University of Phoenix next.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Scott Drovall. Coming up next on my Fox 9 Now forecast, where is that smoke coming from? We'll answer that question. Plus, we'll have the weekend forecast update, and I'll take a peek into the long holiday weekend next weekend. Coming up next.
This is Fox 9 Now.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining me tonight. I'm Roland Barris. Tonight's big story, a Boise police officer who's made thousands of DUI arrests cited for driving under the influence Monday night. Corporal Casey Handcuff facing a charge from the Ada County Sheriff's Office, who says an Eagle police officer pulled Handcuff over after seeing him drive erratically while going west on Highway 44 just after 1 a.m. on Monday. Now, he's been with the force since 1994, according to his LinkedIn profile, and has been a member of the department's Night Selective Traffic Enforcement Program, focusing on DUI investigations for the past 13 years. The Boise Police Department saying in part tonight, we take matters of this nature very seriously, and our Internal Affairs Office will be reviewing the related criminal report and investigation. Boise Mayor Lauren McLean today presented the State of the City address. It was an opportunity to present her case to the voters in advance of her re-election campaign this November, and it was only the second time really since coronavirus where she had a chance to actually address a large crowd in person. And the crowd definitely turned out. It was a packed house at the Pioneer Room in Jump as the mayor reviewed progress in her top initiatives, including an 8% increase in job growth, better affordable housing, daycare, and police protection.
And I am so excited, we are so excited to welcome 20 future officers to the Police Academy this summer, the largest class we've seen in years.
The mayor calls community policing a priority. She touted the huge investment by Micron and mentioned she plans to restart passenger train service to Salt Lake City. She also fired off a shot to the state legislature by reiterating Boise City's dedication to inclusiveness.
Everyone in our community deserves to feel safe and to be safe. And while others are targeting the most vulnerable members of our communities with discriminatory legislation, with bullying and cruelty, we are standing with them. Everyone is welcome here.
Meteorologist Scott Dorval with the Fox 9 Now forecast.
Hello again, everyone. What a beautiful evening it's turned out to be. The sun, it's down, but you still have that glow of the sky, and it's still pretty bright outside, and it's a very comfortable evening. Still haze in the sky from some smoke that's moved in. I'll tell you where that came from shortly, but here's what we're putting the books in for the temperatures. Mid-80s today. So 85 today will turn to 90 tomorrow. So we're going to bump the temperature up 5 degrees. We'll call a beautiful 74. Expected to be about 79, the high temperature over the next couple of days, at the upper 70s at least tomorrow. Warm temperatures all across the west, cooler weather to the east, and that weather is slowly sliding to the east, so our temperatures are going to continue to creep up until we're almost 20 degrees above normal, really by Friday, that's tomorrow, and through the weekend. Look at this temperature overnight, 60 degrees, not bad at all. Mostly clear, but still a little bit on the hazy side because of the smoke. I don't have it here. It looks like bright sunshine with these icons, but really we might have that milky sky again. It's tough to tell how much smoke will filter in, but it may hang around for a while. Instead of 83, 85, we're going to be close to 90, basically 89 degrees. We'll take a look at the extended forecasts coming up.
Thanks, Scott. Well, an Amber Alert active after police say a 2-year-old was taken from a yard in Nampa. Nampa police say Rudy Oziah Reyes was taken by 36-year-old Rodolfo Reyes, and you might notice that name's the same. It's his non-custodial father. This happened just before 11 a.m. today. According to police, the child taken from the yard in the 80th block of North Yale Street in Nampa. They were last seen at the Stinker Station on 12th Avenue South in Nampa. The suspect and child in a 2008 gray Lexus IS 200T with Idaho plate 2CTJ790. But police say they could also be in a 2018 gray Honda Civic with Idaho plate 019YOR. Police say Reyes is known to carry a pistol, and if you have any information, call 208-343-COPS. An update to a story we first brought you earlier this week. The Idaho Humane Society is offering a $5,000 reward now for information leading to the arrest and conviction of whoever shot and killed a family horse in Parma. As we told you, the animal named Cody died after it was shot 9 times near the heart in a pasture.
I got up, it was about 10:30, went out there to give him some hay, and I looked down, and all of a sudden here was this mare dead.
They're probably talking about it, and I'm betting that they are. So I'm hoping that the public will be listening and those people will come forward, because this is just such a tragedy for that family.
If you have any information, call the Canyon County non-emergency tip line on your screen. The University of Idaho making a major move into the online education space, announcing that it's going to pursue an acquisition of the University of Phoenix. The proposed $500 million deal getting the green light from the Idaho State Board of Education today. It's not a done deal yet, but our Brendan Jones has more.
Here at the Idaho State Board of Education, it was a unanimous decision to approve the University of Idaho's proposal to acquire the University of Phoenix. Under the proposal, which was announced on Wednesday, the University of Idaho will create a not-for-profit organization called New U that would then acquire the online school, which is currently a for-profit institution based in Arizona. The two schools would remain two separate institutions, but the University of Idaho says they'll be able to tap into the established online infrastructure that the University of Phoenix has.
The online platform and the online student success system that University of Phoenix has can be iterated. We can use that same platform, we can use that same technology, we can use those same skills and things that they have developed over many, many years and apply those to our University of Idaho students as well.
And what about the reputation of the University of Phoenix? Recently, they had to settle with the Federal Trade Commission in a class action lawsuit for deceptive advertising. I asked the Board of Education why they were comfortable getting in this partnership, and they said because the school is under new leadership.
They're under a new structure, and I believe that the current University of Phoenix staff, administration, are very enthusiastic about becoming a not-for-profit public institution. Many of the challenges that they had in the past could be found in the fact that they were a private for-profit institution. So
the deal is far from closed, and the school said it would be likely until 2024 before anything is final. In Boise, Brendan Jones, Fox 9 Now.
Well, students in South Boise gaining better access to after-school programs. Hillcrest Elementary now serves as an after-school community center. Hillcrest Kid City, as it's called, hosts programming from Boise Parks and Rec, including homework help, sports and games, STEM and art activities, and a healthy snack as well.
The ability to be able to leave your classroom at the end of the day and walk over to a center located inside the school and have caring adults, caring mentors to be able to work with your children. It's a huge benefit to the community, and it's a huge benefit to the families.
Yeah, the Kid City program is available weekdays during the school year from 3:45 to 6 p.m. It does require a $20 registration fee, but after that it's free. The program opened in April and already has a wait list. If you use Google, you might one day see a local student's artwork, and you can make it happen. Seyoon Song from Bishop Kelly is the 2023 Idaho State winner of the Doodle for Google contest. Very cool. She beat out tens of thousands of submissions in the 8th and 9th grade age group. The young artists sharing what they're grateful for, in this case, the healthcare heroes who helped her mom when she fell ill. You can vote to help Seyoon become one of the 5 national finalists. Just look for the link in this story and on our website. And if she wins it all, she could earn a $30,000 scholarship for her school. And you can see her doodle featured on Google's search engine. Good luck. All right, buy a cup of coffee meanwhile and help save lives. Tomorrow, Dutch Bros is making your purchase count. All Dutch Bros locations will be donating a portion of Friday sales to the Muscular Dystrophy Association to support ALS research. It's all in honor of the company's co-founder, Dane Boersma, who was diagnosed in 2005 and passed away 4 years later. Tomorrow, you can drink one for Dane. Over the years, Dutch Bros donated more than $10 million to the MDA. Locations will stay open until at least 10 o'clock tomorrow. I'm getting some coffee. A downtown sandwich shop on some prime real estate is facing an eviction order. There it is, Even Stevens, as we first reported by our partners at Boise Dev. The Ada County Sheriff's Office has taped a notice to the front door of Even Stevens. The orange sign reading trespassing advisory to the defendant's occupants. You have been evicted. Well, it was posted Wednesday morning. The shop on Bannock Street near the Capitol is closed and locked. The Even Stevens chain started in Utah back in 2014 with the Boise location opening up in 2016, but the company fell on hard times, declaring bankruptcy in 2019.
An optimistic tone on the debt ceiling talks, this time from Republicans. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington with the latest on the debate coming up.
Well, with President Biden out of the country on a big trip overseas, negotiating teams back in the nation's capital are working against the clock to find a compromise to raise the debt ceiling before a catastrophic default. Now, the Speaker of the House is optimistic that a deal will be reached, but others less so. Fox's Lauren Blanchard is in Washington with more on this.
I see the path that we could come to an agreement. And I think we have a structure now, and everybody's working hard.
A newly optimistic Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, says nothing has been agreed to yet, but that there's a possible path to narrowly avoid a national default. In the way, the rank-and-file members on both sides of the aisle who are pressuring their top negotiators, President Biden and Speaker McCarthy, not to budge.
The president thinks that there's just going to be some acclamation like, oh, great, yeah, we'll do whatever just to get a deal. That's insane, right? We need something that's going to work.
Here's where the main sticking points are. Whether to add more work requirements to federal benefits. Progressives strongly oppose. How long the debt ceiling should be raised for. Democrats want at least 2 years, while Republicans say only until March. And what spending levels should be, and where the cuts should come from. Some far-right members are urging McCarthy to force Democrats to accept the previously passed House bill the president has said he'd veto.
McCarthy's got to quit playing to his right-wing extremists and start doing the right thing for this country.
Senators have left town for recess, but will come back if a bipartisan deal is reached. President Biden is also out of town. He is in Japan for the G7 summit. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Disney has changed its mind about building a new billion-dollar campus in Florida. The entertainment giant announced today it's scrapping plans to add the development that would have generated 2,000 white-collar jobs. In a memo, a spokesperson said changing business conditions are behind the decision. The company is in the middle of a legal battle, of course, with Florida's Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, claiming recent moves from the governor to clamp down on Disney's influence are political retribution for Disney's disapproval of a Florida law limiting conversation surrounding LGBTQ issues in the classroom. And this comes as DeSantis is expected to officially enter the 2024 presidential race very soon. One Republican source says DeSantis plans to file paperwork declaring his candidacy with the Federal Election Commission next week. The formal announcement will come the following week in DeSantis' hometown in Florida. DeSantis also appears set to gather top fundraisers in South Florida next week. But again, he's way behind former President Trump in the polls. Still ahead on Fox 9 now, Sun Valley, Ketchum, Stanley, all beautiful places to visit this time of year. We take you on a road trip in this week's Idaho Back Roads next.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Outdoor Val. Smoke all across Western Canada and the U.S. I'll tell you where that smoke's coming from. You can kind of tell by looking at this picture. Plus, is it going to stick around and affect our forecast through the weekend? That's next.
Yeah, springtime gives Idahoans a chance to enjoy our state before the kids get out of school and the tourists all show up. In tonight's Idaho Back Roads, outdoor reporter Steve Dent takes us on a road trip to Sun Valley, up to Stanley, and back down Highway 21.
Spring is my favorite time of year as everything begins anew. The wildlife comes alive in the magic and the wonder that we call Idaho. I'm outdoor reporter Steve Dent, and before Memorial Day, the crowds don't show up. So I'm going to take you on one of my favorite loops here in the Gem State. Before we even get to Sun Valley on Highway 20, we spot a bald eagle and several other birds feasting on a deer carcass. The bald eagle has been the national bird since 1782. But as we continue on to Ketchum, we discover snow still remains on Mount Baldy and a herd of elk grazes in a meadow. I've been up to Sun Valley a number of times this winter, and residents told me it has been a difficult winter for wildlife. On top of Galena Summit, we discover more snow, but you could actually hear it melting away, and that gives us our first look into the next valley. Down below, we see fresh charred remains from a wildfire from last summer. We discover where the antelope roam and the beginning of the mighty Salmon River, which increases substantially past Stanley, as the wild and scenic Salmon River is one of the longest free-flowing rivers in the United States, sitting at the base of the majestic Sawtooth Mountains. We made a stop at Redfish Lake, one of the most popular destinations in the 756,000-acre Sawtooth National Recreation Area, but we didn't see anyone, and campgrounds won't be open until Memorial Day weekend. The same can be said for the sleepy town of Stanley, where most restaurants were closed, but we all know how it will come alive later in the summer. As we head out of the valley, we find snow blocking the road to Boundary Creek, the put-in where 10,000 people will float the Middle Fork of the Salmon through the Frank Church Wilderness. As we continue on our way, we pass an elevation sign of 7,000 feet and start making our way through the infamous Avalanche Alley. And if you followed our coverage this winter, you know this stretch of Highway 21 got closed multiple times, and we could still see the evidence of avalanches that covered the road. If it wasn't for the Idaho Transportation Department, this stretch would be closed the entire winter. As I've made it back down near Loman, the snow has disappeared, and I'm just sitting here enjoying the view. Steve Dent, Fox 9 Now.
He's got a great gig. Stanley and Ketchum are also dark sky communities, by the way, located in the first dark sky reserve in the country. So a trip into this area also creates a good way to see a whole lot of stars. The BLM asking for public feedback as it looks to buy 2 more parcels of land in the Boise foothills. The first is a 320-acre area, South Fork Willow Creek parcel that's nestled in the hills outside of the Avamore community off Highway 55. The Avamore community trail system would provide public non-motorized access to that land. Another 30-acre parcel is east of Boise, up in a rocky canyon next to the Boise River Wildlife Management Area. Both purchases would use land and water conservation funding to buy the land from the Treasure Valley Land Trust. You can submit your written comments on either proposal at the website on your screen. Just click on the specific project. Comments will be accepted through May 28th.
Meteorologist Scott Dorval with a Fox 9 Now forecast.
All right, here's the weather map for the Northwest and Western Canada. And all these red spots up here, these are large fires burning in Canada. They just didn't have the moisture from northern Idaho, the Panhandle, all the way up north of Calgary, or way up in Canada here now. And the fires are burning. It's been so dry, and an early start to the fire season, unfortunately. And all of this milky white look here, this is all smoke. You probably remember from last year. Comes down here, Washington, comes into southern Idaho. But the main plume of smoke's been wrapping around this big storm system over Winnipeg, and it's blasting a thick layer of smoke into the center part of the country, and it's been pretty rough as far as the visibilities go in these locations. In fact, take a look at this. All these colors, these are you can see the scale here on our air quality, moderate, and the brighter colors are hazardous. See if I can show you the direction. Basically, you've got the fires centered right up here in Canada, and then the main jet stream is sliding down across this way. Very unhealthy air. You'll see it here in western portions of Kansas and Nebraska and South Dakota. And even in Idaho, some of that smoke, because of breeze coming in this way, is tracking in this direction. So the bottom line is we're going to have some smoke coming in, but it's not affecting our air quality too much. Northern Idaho it is. Eastern Idaho it is. And it could vary. If you're camping and heading a little further to the north, you may be having to deal with a little bit of that coming in over the weekend. So there you see the fires up north here and all these red spots. This is where all the fires are in this region here. here, see if we can get it right in this region here, and then the jet stream bringing most of the smoke in that direction, but some of the smoke's coming right around this high pressure and making its way into southern Idaho. And as long as this ridge of high pressure stays in place, and I think it's going to build a little to the north, we're going to keep that smoke around, and unfortunately that smoke could be with us off and on as we go into the weekend, and maybe until a cold front comes through during the day on Monday. So there's that ridge of high pressure. This is suppressing thunderstorms from firing up. We're seeing them over Sun Valley, and with this low pressure system, which is exiting, there's a lot of moisture in the air, unseasonable high level of moisture, humidity in the air, and so you can get thunderstorms to form more quickly, but with high pressure overhead, you put a cap on the atmosphere, and there's only certain places that are breaking through that cap to bring a few thunderstorms here. When this weekends, when we get storms to form, we could have those heavy downpours and hail again, and the potential exists for that on Sunday in the late afternoon and evening in many places, and even Saturday evening in some of the higher mountain tops. If you are doing any camping, just keep that in mind. Watch Tamarack Resort. You see the stars at night, but look at the smoke. This first layer you see here, that is smoke pushing to the south. You see it right in here as well. As the air gets mixed up, it was starting to reduce the air quality into the moderate category, if not the high category as well. And notice the McCall time lapse as well. Beautiful day today, but you see the smoke here. When we get into the afternoon, that haze, that breeze there bringing some of the smoke in as well. It's still really nice outside, not really any thick smoke, because it's the further away the fires are, the higher up in the elevation they are and altitude. So the next few days look great, Friday and Saturday. Sunday in the evening, a chance for some thunderstorms. So most of the weekend looks amazing. Saturday is going to be just a beautiful, really warm day in the central mountains. Little breeze comes tomorrow morning in the valley, but then it's going to disappear in the afternoon, and you're going to feel that heat as we go up, with temperatures warming 5 degrees hotter than they were today, getting close to 90. And notice how we dry on out. Now it's Saturday evening. This is what I'm concerned. I should say Sunday evening. This is what could be happening. We could have some yellow and green heading in our direction, which could mean some thunderstorms. My comfort index for tomorrow is a 7. It's not an 8. I've got it at 7 because the temperature is going to be up close to 90 degrees. When it gets to 90, kind of bring it down a notch because it's not quite as comfortable. Here's my forecast for the Treasure Valley. You see those temperatures right around 90. A lot of hazy sunshine. The breeze in the morning should be disappearing, but a really nice day. If you like the heat, you're going to love tomorrow. You're going to love Saturday at 91. We stay basically 90, 91, 92 Sunday. Evening thunderstorms Sunday, and then a front comes through Monday. We drop into the 80s for the beginning of the week with a breeze, and then we drop into the 70s by the middle part of the week. What about the long holiday weekend after that? Well, I'll tell you this. We'll take a look at that at the end of the show.
All right, thanks, Scott. Plenty of news to come in our second half hour tonight. Still ahead in the show, new to scientific discoveries in space and also in the sea. Plus, Russian state television downplaying Ukraine's gains as the country makes progress in Bakhmut. And coming up next, Cabela's will have some big competition in Boise. More on when the outdoor store behemoth Scheels will open after the break. A major outdoor retailer is one step closer to opening up a massive new store in Meridian. Scheels is an employee-owned company out of Minnesota, first founded in 1902. They like to get outside in Minnesota. Today, they placed the final piece of structural steel as they construct a nearly 250,000 square foot facility at 10 Mile Crossing, another big building going in. Scheels has stores in several surrounding states, including Montana and Utah, but this is going to be their first in Idaho.
It's going to be 316,000 total square feet. 240,000 square feet will be dedicated to our retail floor space. The rest will be our backstock, and we'll have a 20,000 square foot warehouse attached to it as well. We're going to be hiring anywhere between 450 and 500 employees for this location.
Well, that's a lot of jobs. In addition to stocking an inventory of more than 1 million items, the store will feature attractions like a 65-foot Ferris wheel, a 16,000-gallon saltwater aquarium, and a wildlife mountain. It is set to open next spring. Look at that guy up there. Wow, that's a job. General Motors issuing a safety recall, meanwhile, that all parents of young children will want to hear. Nearly 670,000 small GM SUVs are being recalled because parents may not be able to safely install a child seat. Now, the recall covers the 2020 and 2023, or two 2023 Chevy Equinox and GMC all-terrain vehicles. The problem is that the rear seat anchor bars that are standard in most new vehicles today have too much powder coating apparently, and that makes it difficult to attach your standard baby seat to the latches. Now, if you have an older vehicle, the latch system hadn't been invented yet, and that means you have to use the seat belt to secure your baby seat. And that is not an easy thing to do, I know from experience. It can be hard. Fox 9 Now's Christina Bautista spoke with Meridian Fire Department this morning about the proper way for parents to install a child car seat the old-fashioned way. Take a look.
I'm here with Pam Orr with the Meridian Fire Department, who is going to talk to us about how to properly install a car seat. So why is it so important to properly install a car seat?
So car seats, we see them all the time here at Meridian Fire, and unfortunately we see a lot of them that are installed incorrectly. If parents are not using the manufacturer's instructions for their vehicle and for their car seats, there are a lot of things that can go wrong.
So can you give us a demonstration of how to properly install a car seat?
I'd love to.
Okay. So what is the first step?
So I'm going to install an infant car seat for you today, and the infant car seat comes with a base. And so the base needs to be installed, and you want to make sure that the base is installed level. I'm going to install this base with a seat belt, and we're just going to hook this in this way. Number one thing that most parents do incorrectly with installing a base is that they do not engage their locking system if their vehicle has one. So we want to engage that locking system of their seat belt. You hear it clicking in. And then from there, I'm going to ensure that it's level. And I'm going to push down where the baby's bum will go and just pull that really, really, really tight. The key to this is that you want less than 1 inch of movement at this belt path. So less than 1 inch of movement. From there, we're going to install the seat. The seat just clicks directly in. And so we just come in here with the seat. It's going to click just like this. You're going to hear it click in. It is installed correctly at that point. At this point, I think it's important that we know how to install and put the baby in, because the baby is also very, very critical. If you get the seat in tight and you get the baby in tight, then what you end up with is that should you get into a collision, G-forces are not going to affect the baby, okay? So the key to remember with installing the baby is that you want to ensure that the straps in the reverse position are either at or just below the shoulders. Next thing is that you have a chest clip and you have the buckles that go in. And then once you have that in, that chest clip goes armpit level, right about armpit level, not too high up, not too low, but you want that bony surface. And then you do a pinch test. So there's 2 tests that we do. An inch test, no more than an inch on the seat, and a pinch test. You cannot actually hold the strap. Here I can hold the strap, so I'm going to tighten this strap. On this one, it's from the reverse side. Then I'm going to tighten. I'm going to come back in again. Just basically rolling off my fingers, baby is nice and tight. And so seat is tight in the car, baby is tight in the seat, baby's ready to go.
See how easy that is? Makes you want to not have kids. All right. More than 200,000 Jeep SUVs are being recalled globally due to a fire risk. The recall covers Jeep Cherokees with the model year 2014 through 2016. There we go, another recall. Stellantis, which owns Jeep, says water could get into the liftgate control computer and catch fire. Water causing fire. Owners are being warned to park their vehicles outside and away from structures and other cars. The automaker is still working to develop a fix for the issue and says it will send letters to owners starting June 30th. The automaker also says it is not aware of any injuries caused by the issue. Still ahead on Fox 9 Now, Ukraine continues their push into Bakhmut as the country's counteroffensive looms. More from the war front next. Right now in the world, it is clear that Russian President Vladimir Putin is willing to go to any length to hide the truth about his war. Now using Russian state TV to exaggerate the damage made to a U.S. Patriot missile system. Matthew Chance has the latest.
It's state television where Russia fights its information war. The lead story, the US Patriot missile battery. Russia insists it destroyed in Kiev. US officials tell CNN the system remains operational, but this is too rare a victory for the pro-Kremlin media to play down. The much-promoted Patriot was destroyed by Kinjals, the presenter gloats. Our hypersonic missiles were so fast they cut through Ukraine's air defences like a knife through butter, she adds. As for the 6 hypersonic missiles Ukraine says it shot down, a fantasy number, the presenter says, and more than we actually fired. A senior Ukrainian official now tells CNN only minor damage was caused to the Patriot air defense system when one of the Kinjals was shot down at low altitude on Tuesday morning. The official said the US-made system will be repaired soon, and an investigation is now underway into how the Patriot was targeted. Elsewhere, Ukraine says small advances have been made around Bakhmut. These night images appear to show an armoured push in the fields outside. But Russian state television is in the city, touring devastated front lines under constant fire with Wagner mercenaries who say they're confident they will prevail. We will take Bakhmut eventually, this Wagner commander tells the Russian TV crew following him around. But at what cost, we don't know, he admits. Another says they're shelling us from afar because they can't defeat us in close combat. We're too strong, he says. Ukrainian officials confirm fierce fighting in the city, captured on this latest drone video. Areas of Bakhmut suburbs devastated, but now being liberated, the Ukrainians say. And back on Russian TV, there's growing acceptance that what was meant as a short offensive in Ukraine has spiraled out of control, exposing weaknesses and divisions in the country. It's not a special military operation, says this guest on state television, but a fateful war that Russians must win or face destruction. As Ukraine prepares for a counter-offensive to reclaim occupied land, it seems Russia is also bracing for a fight.
Researchers are trying to understand how to get more women interested in STEM. I'm Marianne Rafferty with a look at the lack of diversity in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math. Coming up.
The Allergy Report brought to you by Boise Valley Asthma and Allergy.
The numbers are in for our pollen count. Your allergy report for the day from Boise Valley Asthma and Allergy Clinic. We're still in the extreme category. Went from about 190 or so down to 170. Still hanging in there, just into the extreme category by 21. Pine pollen is really cranking up, and the grass pollen is there. So if you're getting allergies and you're feeling it a little bit earlier this year, it may be because of the early pine and also the grass, which typically comes in June. Everything seems to be starting earlier, although interesting that it's doing it this year. So the pollen extreme, and there's various pollen out there through the weekend.
All right, thanks, Scott. Astronomers have found an Earth-sized planet that is likely covered in volcanoes. It's located about 90 light years from Earth, and researchers think the planet may experience eruptions with the same frequency as Jupiter's moon, which is currently the most volcanically active place in our solar system. An exciting place to be. But they say there is no direct evidence to prove volcanoes exist across the exoplanet. They plan to continue to observe the new find to hopefully gather more data as astronomers continue to search for potentially habitable Earth-sized planets. The James Webb Space Telescope has helped make a first-time discovery. Astronomers using it to observe a rare comet in our solar system that had water vapor in it. The comet is located in the main asteroid belt between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. The Space Observatory says the findings suggest that water or ice can be preserved in a warmer part of the solar system. The discovery came after 15 years of attempts by astronomers using different observation methods. While research shows women have been making strides in the field of STEM, academic experts say there is still a large gap in gender diversity when it comes to careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. And Fox's Marianne Rafferty takes a closer look at what can be done to create greater equity.
You are probably familiar with the term STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. But while these industries have led to some of the most important inventions in the world, a growing number of academic professionals believe a lack of gender diversity in STEM could hinder our ability to make new discoveries in the future.
We aren't going to get those differences in thoughts that build those amazing ideas that create new and innovative things for our world.
The most recent data from the Census Bureau reveals women made up roughly 30% of workers in STEM jobs in 2019. And while that's up from the 8% of women in STEM back in 1970, researchers say there's a lot more room for growth. But getting them hooked on STEM needs to happen at a young age.
By the time females reach 8th grade, they either like STEM or they don't. And generally speaking, we gain very few females who go into STEM majors after 8th grade if they didn't already have that interest.
The Roger D. Gehring Academy of Science and Technology is trying to do just that. Located in Las Vegas, the school blends STEM topics into its curriculum for their roughly 700 students.
If we discourage children in their learning early on, they're not going to have those foundations. They're not going to be successful, and we're going to drive them away, not only maybe being STEM majors, but working in STEM fields.
Advocates are also calling for more racial diversity in STEM. Data from the Pew Research Center finds Black and Hispanic people are severely underrepresented in those fields. Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
A marine reptile about twice the size of a killer whale lived about 152 million years ago. A new study says the animal, called the plesiosaur, described as a carnivorous marine reptile with a massive head and a tear-shaped body, lived during the late Jurassic period. Another reason I don't go swimming, even though it's not around anymore. Study author David Martel says he found large vertebrae fossils in a museum drawer. Due to the size of the vertebrae, the researchers concluded they were closely related to plesiosaurs, or a similar but undescribed species. Still ahead tonight, legalized sports betting continues to grow 5 years since a landmark Supreme Court case. We'll look at what's happened since the court's decision and the ongoing concerns coming up.
The Fox 9 Fishing Game Forecast is sponsored by Buckhorn Gun Shop.
Friday, May 19th has one excellent rating activity period in the day and three good periods. Best in the morning, 2:40. The two good periods peak at 8:20 a.m. and 2:20 p.m. The afternoon peak is about 8:40. Have fun fishing, fox9now.com. In sports news tonight, it's been 5 years since the Supreme Court struck down a federal law that effectively banned commercial sports betting in most states. As Fox's Matt Napolitano reports, the availability of it in a majority of states has its benefits and its drawbacks.
You may have placed your bets online, at a sports book, or maybe just seen the ads, but sports betting is certainly making its presence known across the U.S.
I'm hard-pressed to find an example of something that's moved so quickly through so many state houses as legal sports betting.
37 states and the District of Columbia have legalized sports betting following the Supreme Court tossing the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, also known as PASPA. But American Gaming Association President and CEO Bill Miller says bettors have been waiting in the wings for some time.
Before the Supreme Court decision, about 60% of Americans supported betting on sports. And in our most recent poll that we did, the American Gaming Association, 85% of the American people supported the decision on repealing PASPA and allowing for legal sports betting to happen in America.
But there are still concerns over gambling addiction, and more recently, concerns over college sports, particularly student athletes wagering.
I think it's really, really important that we treat these amateur athletes in a way that's respectful, and that we do everything that we can to make sure that they're educated with regard to what they can and cannot do as student athletes.
The concern about college sports and wagering isn't limited to just players. The University of Alabama fired baseball coach Brad Bohannon earlier this month following reports of suspicious wagering activity on Crimson Tide games. In New York, Matt Napolitano, Fox News.
World Cup celebrations kick off in New York and New Jersey. The cities will be among those hosting FIFA World Cup games in 2026. How about that? New York City Mayor Eric Adams and New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, along with former New York Giants star Michael Strahan, kicked off the FIFA brand logo unveiling at the event last night in Times Square. Celebrations continue across the country and elsewhere as the 16 individual host city FIFA brand logos are launched. The 2026 games is the first ever 48-team FIFA World Cup, which will also be played in Canada and Mexico. Tennis star Rafa Nadal has withdrawn from the upcoming French Open. That's his specialty on clay. Dang it. The 36-year-old Spaniard said yesterday he's going to miss the Grand Slam event as he continues to recover from a hip injury. He also announced that next year will likely be his final season. The Bull has won the French Open a record 14 times. He is tied with Novak Djokovic with 22 major singles titles, the most in men's tennis. ESPN is getting ready to stream its flagship channel as a standalone service. The Wall Street Journal says it's been codenamed Flagship. Though there's no date for the launch, the change would have a major impact on cable TV providers since ESPN is one of the main attractions for a cable bundle. All right, take a look outside. What a beautiful night in downtown Boise. Boy, would I like to be down there right now. Looks absolutely gorgeous out there. Warm weather, folks. It's here and it's going to continue. This is a shot from the overhead door tower cam. We'll be right back.
Last check at your forecast coming up. The out-the-door cast for tomorrow calling for sunshine, although hazy sunshine with that smoke in the high altitudes. Temperatures tomorrow are going to be 82 at lunchtime. Usually add 10 degrees from what it is at noon. That's what we're going to be headed. I think we'll be headed right around 90 is what I'm expecting with a lot of sunshine. I want to peek ahead here. This weekend's in the low 90s. We look at next week. We're going to cool down as we head for that long holiday weekend. There could be some cloud cover around. We'll keep an eye on this. It looks like temperatures may be in the 80s. I'll keep you updated on that. In the meantime, have a great night, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow night on Fox 9 News at 9.